Hi friends, I thought I'd walk you through a little mini watercolor painting tutorial here, and I want to share some beautiful words from an art book that I really love. This is by Anne K. Lindsay. It's called Watercolor, A New Beginning, A Holistic Approach to Painting. This book is a very gentle watercolor book. She teaches you how to play with watercolor, not how to just control it or master it or make it, do what you want, but how to dance with it. And so I just wanted to share some of the beautiful words of wisdom and love and encouragement that she shares in her introduction. And she talks about how, as she was teaching watercolor, a lot of the time the adults who were trying to learn they were excited to learn, but they were trying to learn how to control the medium, and they were having a difficult time learning how to just play. And so she says, my students at the time were all adults, mostly women. Watercolor painting was something they had always wanted to do. The enthusiasm was there. How could it be kept alive? Helping people open up to their own art experience became much more important to me than teaching them how to control the medium. I wanted to nurture my students' art spirit, for art is the voice of the soul and is one of the finest, deepest ways we have of expressing ourselves as human beings. And she talks about our inner child who needs to be loved and accepted and believed in. That we need to believe in ourselves as we're painting and playing. How to explore without worrying about if it's good or right, or if it looks right. We have a perfectly polished piece at the finish. We don't need to produce. We can just celebrate that we are painting it all. And I love that she says, art is the voice of the soul, personal and individual. The desire for quality is inherent. An intuitive process needs a primarily intuitive approach. Skill and ease, mastery, come from familiarity. Watercolor likes to be danced with, not controlled. Intuitive learning is playful and fun. It is about exploring new territory, seeing what happens and not thinking too much. She says, please let yourself explore and play to your heart's content. Watercolor is alive. It moves. It's magic. It dances differently with everyone. Enjoy the dance. That's what you came for. So here's just that. I didn't read the whole thing. I just kind of read some bits there. And that's what the approach I want to take, but also adding in some color theory in there, because for me, learning color theory made all the difference in my personal joy of painting. Learning how to mix colors to create the colors that I wanted made a really big difference. So that's why I focus so much on color theory and color mixing, because that's what brings me joy. And hoping I can just kind of help set out some stepping stones or building blocks for those of you who want to learn watercolor and color mixing as well. So I'm just going to paint this little image here. This is an image I stamped and heat embossed with some gold powder. This is on the Canson paper that we've been using. And this stamp is from Studio Katia, Katia, and it's a Peony stamp. I don't remember the exact name, but I can put it in the description. And then I used the Hero Arts Gold Embossing Powder. And so I just stamped it and embossed it, and I have a little verse up here that says, the Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. Zephaniah 3:17. And I love that verse. So we're just going to paint this little peony, and I'm just going to kind of go through and just kind of go with what feels like. I'm thinking I might do like a pinky peach color. We'll see how it turns out. So first thing is I'm just going to take some clean water on my brush, and I like to kind of get the petals kind of wet. And because there's this embossing powder here, it can kind of hold in some of the water. So I'm just doing these inner petals first. I'm kind of getting them wet with water. I'm not being super precise, and you can see, let's see if I can bring that. There's a glistening of water on it, but it's still on the inside of the petals. So I didn't put it all over the whole thing, just these inside petals there. Just a nice amount of glistening water. I'm going to take a little bit of water. I think I'm going to start with, let's see, I think I'm going to start with a little bit of this pinky color. I'm going to put in here in the middle a little. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of this orangey color. And I'm going to add just a drop of water here because it's kind of dry. Oops, need a little more here. There. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll actually grab a little bit of this yellow here to make a peachy color. Okay, a little more pinky here. Okay, so now I've got some little different peachy tones here, and I'm just going to go right in and just kind of drop the water in kind of around the stamens, the center, towards the bottom of the inner petals. And you can see the water just kind of magically carries it a little bit. It doesn't go super far. Sorry, I'm kind of shaking that. But it does kind of spread a little. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of move it a little up. And you can see it's kind of moving up a little on its own. And now I'm going to clean my brush off, my dirty water, tap, tap, put on a paper towel, grab some clean water. I'm going to make sure I don't have a lot of water on my brush. I want it just damp, so I'm tapping it off in a paper towel here. And I'm just going to kind of go in with my brush and make it where these ends are almost disappearing. I want to kind of do a nice soft, I want to kind of disappear sort of softly. So we're going to do this. So you can see it kind of softened that top part. There you go. And it's not, you know, perfectly precise, but we have our first little really pale wash of color. Let me bring this up so you can see it. So it's just a soft pink little layer there. Not too bright at first. One thing with watercolors, you want to start light because you can always add in more color, but it's pretty challenging to take the color away. You can, and we can talk about some of those tips and tricks, but if you start off lighter and then slowly build the color, it's just a lot easier. So maybe I might want to make it just a little bit darker. I think I'm going to just take a little bit of this and just kind of put it in the center part down here. You can see I'm doing a pretty watery mix still. This isn't strong with a lot of color. It's more water than paint. And now you can see that because there's not as much water on the petals, it's not moving as far. It's staying kind of put because the petals have dried just a tiny bit. So we still have this little bit of a darker ring around here, but it's still lighter as we go out, which is kind of nice because it kind of gives you this effect of shadow in the center part, and then a little bit lighter as it comes out. So let's see if I can bring this up and you can kind of see that. You can see how the water's glistening. It's still wet there, but it's not like soaked. Okay, so one trick with watercolor, a little tip, is if you do like flower petals right next to each other and they're all kind of wet, they're going to kind of share that same color. But if you kind of skip spaces and leave some blank white dry space in between and go to another spot or another petal, the colors will intermix, so it'll be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into my clean water. I'm going to get some of this magenta. Just put it here. And I want kind of a pinky rosy color here. And I'm gonna mix that like that. There we go. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab another brush. Actually, I'm gonna grab this one. I'm using my number 3 and a number 6. Getting my number 6 wet with clean water, tapping it off so I don't have too much water. I'm going to go into this big petal right here and get it wet. Okay. Now I've got that rose type color in here, and I'm just going to kind of go along the bottom part towards it's closer in. And just make a nice little line of color here. I'm kind of dotting it, the color in. Okay, now I'm going to clean my brush off. And now I'm going to get clean water. I don't want too much, so I'm tapping off in a paper towel. Now my brush is barely just damp, and I'm going back in like we did before. And as you can see, it's kind of softening that line so we don't have hard edge. And it brings just a tiny bit of pink up. Just gonna go in the little spots that look like I missed. And so you can see kind of have this gradient or ombre effect of the whole brighter, more saturated, and a paler, lighter color. I'm kind of going for a lighter pink peony here. It's not gonna be a too dark one, I don't think. We'll see. We'll see what happens. So let's bring this up so you can see. You can see there's, it's still a little bit damp, so you can kind of see some of that water, and you can see that ombre effect of that pretty pink rosy color. Now we're gonna do another petal just the same way. Go ahead and I'm going to do this one that's over here on this side. Getting it wet with just some clean water, not too much, just a little. Going into my rose color, just a little. I don't want to have too much here. And again, we're just going in on the bottom part of the petal, kind of making this little line. There we go. Now I'm going to let that just kind of sit for a minute because I don't want to take too much away. So now I'm going to clean my brush, go back in the clean water, tap it off, and let's see, let's do another. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is there's some hard edges over here. I'm going to kind of soften them with the clean water. So when you have those hard edges, if you have just a brush that's kind of damp, you can come in and just gently kind of I'm making little like circle-y motions just where the hard line is in the general area. And then the hard line should just kind of go away and we'll have a nice soft effect. It does kind of lighten up that area because you're essentially picking up some of that pigment on your brush again. But that's fine because, like I said, you can always go back in and add more. You can make it darker anytime you want. It's a little bit hard, well, not harder actually, to make it darker. I mean, make it lighter. Making it lighter is harder, but it's easy to go darker. So now this is kind of spread a bit, so I'm going to pick some of this up. I'm just going to brush it off on my towel. There we go. Let's see this one. I see I've got a couple of corners that are a little too white, so I'm just gonna come in and work around that so I don't have any hard edges. Again, just doing a little like tiny little circly movements in that in those little spots. Sometimes the water gathers in particular areas and then it doesn't reach others. So sometimes it's good to just kind of go through and clean that up, especially if you want a nice smooth transition. Oh, I see another little spot here, so let's clean that up here. And you don't have to do this. If you want the hard edges, you can leave them. That's totally fine. I'm just going for a smoother appearance here, so that's why I'm going around and smoothing that out. So now I've got my clean water again, and I think we're gonna go over here and see a little more water on my brush. It does take some practice to figure out how much water you need. I don't think you can really see. My brush is damp and there's a little bit of water, but it's not soaking. You don't want to do too much, especially when you're working in a small area like a flower petal, because if you have too much water, it's going to just overflow and kind of make a mess. So you know, I figure always start with a little bit of water, a little bit of paint. You can always add more water, you can always add more paint. It's more challenging to take away. So start with gentle little small movements. Now we're going to take a little bit of this rose color here, put it into the bottom, and just kind of go around the flower petal, the bottom part, kind of adding it in. I'm kind of dabbing it here because it helps the pigment and water come off the brush and go onto the page with these little soft dabby movements. Okay, yeah, I think I'm actually going to add just a tiny bit more in this center crevice here. Imagine it'd be a little bit more of a shadow there. There we go. Okay. got my clean water again. Now I'm going to come over here to this petal up towards the top. Again, we're still working on the inner portion of the petals. We're not working on the outer folded parts yet. And I've got it glistening. Let me see if I can lift it up to show you. See that? It's glistening with water. That might be a little bit too much water actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush my brush on the paper towel so it's kind of dried off. And then I'm going to come over and just kind of pick up some of that water. You can do that really easily, especially while it's just clean water. It's pretty easy. You could also use a paper towel, but I find I tend to make kind of a mess and smear things with a paper towel. So it's really nice just to do that with your brush because it's more controlled. Now I'm going to come in here with my pink rose color. Just add a little bit coming out and around this way. Nice little pretty pinky color there. Cleaning my brush off, getting fresh water. And let's see how this, I think I kind of want to soften this already. I think it's going to be a little much. I already feel that way. So I'm just going to soften this like this. Nice, gentle, soft little pink ombre. Pretty, pretty. Okay, let's see how the center is doing. The center is looking a little more dry. Now you can feel, I'm touching the bottom of my paper and I can feel the temperature's a little bit cooler in the places where it's wet on this top side. You can feel in the bottom it's cooler and you can kind of feel underneath where the water is. So that kind of tells you, if you're not sure when you're looking at it, how dry is it? Is it still kind of damp? Touch the bottom side and feel, does this feel a little bit cooler? And if it feels a little cool, that means it's still wet. It's a little bit damp. It's not completely dry. So that's just a little tip. So let's see here. What do we want to do next? I think I'm going to just keep going on what we're doing here. I'm going to get my brush with clean water again. And let's come over here and do this petal. So I'm going in with a little bit of clean water, not too much. I want to be careful around this because it could easily come out into the folded over area. I don't want to have too much there, so I'm going to look and see. Maybe pick some of that up. Maybe there's too much water there. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm going to come back into my pink rose color and just drop it in. I'm going to kind of put more towards this part that's closer to the center and the edges, and not so much here because I want that part to look a little bit lighter. Cleaning my brush off, paper towel, then clean water, and then paper towel. Okay, now I'm going to take my mostly dry brush and go through here. So now it's very pale and pastel. So I'm going to take just a little bit of this pink, put it here we go. Clean off my brush, dab it off, clean water, dab it off. There we go. There. I'm gonna spread this little bit of pink right there into that corner. Very good. Alrighty. So you can kind of see light pink. We're going to do another petal here. I'm going to do this one. I think I had too much water. I'm actually going to do a little bit of peachy here. Ooh, I like that. It might be too much, but I can take it off if I need to. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go right into this one and just add a little bit here. Now you'll notice I didn't even add water on this one because there just wasn't that much on my brush. I'm also going to do that to this little one here. This is a quicker way to kind of go through. If you don't have that much on your brush, you can kind of just go more quickly. And one more peachy color here. One little tip is wherever you have a puddle of color, there's of water and color, there's going to be a darker color. So make sure you kind of put your puddle where you want more of a color, darker color to be. So you can kind of pay attention to that as you go. And where's my puddle of color? Is it where I want it to be? And if not, just move it around slightly. You don't have to push it hard, just kind of nudge it, give it a little dance. Okay. Go ahead and grab a little more peachy color here. I don't want my brush too wet. I'm going to go ahead and add some in here. And in here. And you want to alternate slightly the color. You don't want them too drastically different, but you don't want them all completely identical because that can be a little boring. And you know, most flowers, if you look at them, the petals do have little alterations in the color. There is some changes and some differences that you'll notice. And so don't be afraid to experiment. You know, I mean, try to stay within the same general color, but it's really fun to add just a little bit of hints of color changes into things. I think I'm going to do a little more of that rosy color. Here. that was a little much, so I'm going to clean my brush off. Paper towel, clean water, dry it off again. Now I've got a mostly dry brush. And see how quickly that came up with the dry brush? A lot of that color came right up. Now I can lighten it and make it softer. Make sure it's all even, and then I can come back in and add a little bit of color towards this bottom part. There, I like that. I think I want to do a little bit of peach over here. Just a little line of it. And then I think I'm going to do a little bit of this pink color. Where do I want it? Maybe right here. That was kind of dark. Let's clean the brush off real quick. Paper towel, clean water, paper towel. Taking a mostly dry brush, soften it out. Clean, paper towel, clean water again, paper towel again. There we go. That's better. I just want to touch, not too much. I'm going to come over here and soften this up. Do my little circle movements. You're not scrubbing at the paper hard. You're just kind of gently twirling with your brush. You're just doing little dancey twirls with it. There we go, just like that. You're just softening it. We're just going really soft and gentle. There we go. Nice, soft ombre effect. No hard edges. And you'll notice I do have some spots where it came over to other petals. You know, it came up to the top, and I just come through and find spots to soften. If you're doing this, you know, pretty quickly, you'll be able to get out those hard edges really quickly. If you let it sit, you know, for a while, it will be harder to get those edges, the hard edges away. You can do it if you don't let it sit too long, but it's just so much easier to do it right away. Okay, let me bring this up so you can see. I've all the inner petals have a really light, soft, gentle ombre wash of either the rosy pink or the peachy pink now. So we have a really sweet petal color. So now that was our first layer, or first layer. Now we're going to go over the top of that, and it's called a glaze, or a second layer. Every time you add another layer or another glaze, you're just adding on more layers. So that's why you want to start really, really light. So what I'm going to do is get my clean water with my brush, and I'm going to get some of this red color that I have mixed here. Just put it in here. Get a little bit of this orange. Put it here. Okay. Now I've got this nice peachy pinky color here. And I'm just going to take a little bit and tap towards the bottom of the petals. Around the center. You can do each one individually if you want. I find that it's a little bit faster and easier to kind of do these kind of together. Now I'm going to clean my brush off. Paper towel, clean water. So I've got some water on my brush, but not too much. I'm going to get some of this excess off the ferrule here, the metal part. A little too much water, so I'm going to dab that just gentle like that. Now I'm going to kind of gently come up and just do the little circly movements we've been doing. And every time I go up, and this is really gentle, I'm not going hard on the paper, I'm letting it go up a little more. The smaller ones I don't go up as high, and some of the places that, you know, I feel like it should go higher, I go higher. And so you can see it created a nice little ring. We have a little bit of a darker color. Try to get that to show. Cleaning my brush off. Paper towel, clean water, paper towel. So now I've got this dryer brush again, and I'm going to come back in here. Make sure I get rid of these hard edges. There. If I feel like I need a little more water, my brush is too dry, I'm going to go back in and get a little more clean water. That can help. There we go. Like I said, you don't want to scrub too hard at this paper because it could pill. So let's see here. What do we want to do now? I think we're going to do these folded over petals, and I think I'm going to make them a little more of a yellowy color. There we go. Okay, let's see. Let's start with this one. Okay, I'm going to take another brush that's clean with some clean water. Just kind of go through and put a little bit of water here. Dab on a little bit of color. Let's see, let's keep going this way. I feel like I need some more water. I'm going to take my pipette and just put a little bit of water in here because I don't want to go into my dirty water or my clean water. I'm just going to get a little bit of clean water here. A little bit of clean water. in a little bit of color. It's really helpful to have a couple brushes when you're working like this, so you can keep one for your cleanish water and one for your color. You want to make sure when you're doing tiny spaces like this that you don't have too much water in here. So don't like go into your water and then go directly into a tiny space. Do a space that's a little bit bigger first, and then take your brush that just has that little tiny bit of water and go in. Also, with too much color, you wouldn't want that. Although I do want this one to be a little bit darker because I want it to look like it's coming up. And so to make it look like it's coming up closer, I'm going to give it some brighter, darker color there. I'm going to go back into our water here. You just want to kiss it. You want the tip of the brush to just kiss the water. Now I'm going to go right into this bigger petal over here. We're just getting it nice and wet. Now I'm going to come back into my color here, just touch it, and very light strokes. We want to keep things soft and gentle here. This is a gentle time, a restful time. There we go. I think I might do a little more kiss of color down here. Give more interest to this petal because it's a little more prominent. So we want to make sure it has some variations going on there. There we go. A little bit darker there. All right, let's go back in, kiss with the clean water, and let's do this one here. Now I did go ahead and get this little tiny itty bitty corners, they're like kind of inside, because you know, if the petal was folded over like that, you would see this color shining through over that color, and they would kind of mix a little. So I'll show you how we do that. So I'm going to take my clean brush and take just teeniest little touch of that pinky color and just put it into these corners here. Tiniest touch, just like that. Now I'm going to take my yellowy orangey color and just do like we were doing here. And take my cleaner brush and make sure we've got it evened. You know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to come in to my pinkier color and touch a little bit at the top on this portion of it. So it looks like the pink color is kind of coming in. Just a little. Maybe even a little here, why not? Just a little bit. Not too much. Just a little kiss, a little dance. Oh, why not over here too? We'll make this petal have a little bit more more of the pink tones. Give it something different from its sisters. There we go. Nice and soft, just like that. Oh, I just noticed this has some hard edges forming, so I'm going to kind of little twirly dance circle steps here to soften it off. There we go, nice and gentle. Little tiny spot there. That's looking beautiful. I have a little spot here I need to clean off, and we'll just go ahead and go into this petal while we're at it. Soft, gentle water. Watercolor is such a beautiful magic medium. You know, and I've heard people say, you know, that they're scared of watercolor and that it's uncontrollable. And I understand that. I can totally understand that. I felt that way too at first. But once you understand the gentleness of watercolor, just be gentle with the amount of paint you use, gentle with the amount of water. The more water you use with watercolor, the more wild it's going to be. So if you want to do wild watercolor, add lots of water and go wild. But if you want it to be softer and more gentle and not feel like it's totally out of control, you're probably going to want to use less water like we're doing here in this example. Okay, let's see. I think we're going to do this one. So we're kissing the clean brush to some water. Make sure I don't have too much there. Come in and paint the top of this petal. I think I might give this one a little more pink too, because it's really overlaying, and so we're going to see that the color shining through, because I could just imagine the light playing with this. And so we're going to come in here to a pinker color and grab a kiss of it. I'm going to put this pink towards the top, like that. And then I'm going to come in and grab this yellowy peachy color and put that towards the bottom. Come in and kind of smooth it all out. That yellow is really strong, so it kind of overpowered my peach there. So I think I'm going to come back in here. Come back in here with a little more pinky color. Wow. Okay. There we go. Just kind of softening it up a little bit. Soft edges. We want soft kisses of color here. And I just put a tad bit of that peachy color right here, because in that fold you would be able to see that peachy color coming through. We'll soften this up later, but we're going to let it sit there for just a minute. Okay. Come back in, kiss our water. Not too much. I'm going to dab off some of that extra water. You know, I think I'm going to dab it on my paper towel a little. And then come into this tiny little spot here. And we're just going to add in that color there and see how strong that went. Wow. And this is kind of that corally color we had. And I think I like it. I think I'm going to leave it like that. It looks really nice. Isn't that pretty? Now I'm going to come into this petal here, and I think I'm going to do more of this corally color while we have on our brush. Because like I said, we don't want everything to be identical. We want a few little variations here and there. So I'm going to give this little kiss of color, and a little more there. Kind of going down, because the fold, I can imagine this fold going down like that. There, that's so lovely. Now I'm going to come in with the same color. And I'm not putting water in these because I want these to be a little darker, because they're towards the center more. And I'm just going directly in with the color that was already on my brush. I didn't need it anymore. Do a little bit down here. Just kind of give that interest there. So now I've only got a little bit of color on here, and I'm just stroking on a little bit just to give it that look of a shadow dimension. But my brush is doesn't have a lot of water on it, doesn't have a lot of color on it. It's just that gentle kiss like we've been talking about. Just that gentle kiss of color. Wow, isn't that nice? So pretty. Okay, I need to do that one. I think I'm gonna make that one a little more pink. Grab my kiss of water here. Grab my little kiss of pink. Yeah, actually, I think I want a little more pinky. Just something a little different here. Just, oh, that's it. Just something a little different. Because we have a lot of that peachy color in that section. So it can kind of just look too similar. So I'm going to do this pinky color. But to keep it a little bit different, I'm going to go ahead and take this yellow. And I'm actually going to put it here. Towards this part. It looks like it's curving in towards the top. Oh, that's nice. I like that. That's lovely. Oh, and I just realized I missed a little petal there. I'm going to clean my brushes off real quick. Dirty water, paper towel, clean water, paper towel. Dirty water, paper towel, clean water, paper towel. Okay, I'm going to go in with a kiss of water. Very little water. I should dab that off. It's probably too much for that little tiny petal. This is a little sister. And then I'm going to come in with my pinky rose color. Just a little kiss. That's nice. I'm going to go through and do this petal like this. And kind of give more of a color build-up on this side. I'm going to kind of come through and just kind of take off this teeny little bit off the top, just like that, to give it that color variation we like. Because we like our color variations, don't we? All right. So here we have this beautiful pinky peach. It's really pastel and light. My lighting isn't the greatest right now, so you can't really see how beautiful these soft watercolor flowers are. They're just, sometimes it's nice just to do something really light and gentle. So we have these beautiful ombre-like petals. What I'm going to do now is the center. So I'm going to take my clean brush, give a little bit of clean water, and I'm going to go right into this gold color that I have over here. Just a little. And I'm going to put it right here in the middle. Make our stamens kind of this gold color. And I have a more of a stronger build-up color on the center. Like that. And then I'm going to take just a little bit and go into these stamens circle here. And just kind of let it brush over. And it'll be really neat because the stamens will give this orangey look to the center. It'll draw the eye in. It'll tie together with the peachy tones we did. There we go. I'm going to clean my brush off. I think we're ready for the leaves. So what I'm going to do for the leaves on here is I'm going to take some of this pretty gold and I'm going to put it over here. Clean my brush off. Paper towel. Clean water. Actually, you know, I need a little bit of a pipette. I think I'm going to go into this blue-green color and just put a dab of water from my pipette on there. So I have a clean water, and I'm just going to take some of this. Kind of getting some of this turquoise here. I'm going to mix it with this color. Okay. I'm going to grab a piece of paper, just actually let's grab this one to test it on. I think that's a little bit bright. So what I'm going to do, cleaning my brush off, getting clean water, I'm going to take a little bit more of this magenta and I'm going to put it over here. I'm cleaning my brush off again. Clean water. I'm taking just a little bit of that magenta and adding it in. Okay, I think that might be better. I want it to be a nice, natural, muted, cooler green. And I think that's gonna be pretty. So we're gonna go with that. So what I'm gonna do is, because this is already pretty watery, I'm gonna go right in. I'm not gonna add, usually when I do leaves, I would add the water first, but this is a pretty watery mix and I don't wanna have to make up a whole bunch. So we're just gonna go directly in. And I'm going to do darker towards the bottom. My brush is pretty dry at this point. After I did that first leaf, there's not very much water on it. Okay, I'm going to go back in. Again, I'm keeping the darker little spots of color towards the inner part, on the bottom part. That's where more of the shadow would be. So it'd be a little more dark. I'm going to roll it here too. Go. Roll here. Okay. You know, I think I want a little more of the yellow here. Yeah, like that. So this is a variation. We don't want them all too matchy-matchy. just kind of giving that warmer green towards the center bottom parts. So they have a little bit of variation. Cleaning my brush off, paper towel, clean water, paper towel. And my brush is pretty dry. Coming in so we don't have those hard lines, because we like nice soft lines. I need a little more water. I kind of made like a little highlight there in that spot. There we go. I'm cleaning my brush off, paper towel, clean water, paper towel. All right, let's take a look at our pretty peony here. So we have the nice yellow stamen here. A little bit of a more peachy orange color in the center, coming out with the pink. Our petals on the top folding over all nice peach colors. Really soft, gentle greens here. Just a gentle little watercolor. And this I can use as a card. I can put it on this is a 4x6, but I could trim it down if I want to put an A2 card, or post it onto a 5x7 paper, or just use as a bookmark even. Send it to a friend as is. It's just a fun, pretty little gentle watercolor. Thank you for joining me today with this gentle watercolor play. I hope you have a magical, beautiful day. Bye-bye, friend.